So in the Cook County jails, my question to you would be, who actually runs them? Is it the inmates? Is it the cops? Is there some sort of relationship they got going on where they both kind of run it? Kind of talk about that.
All right, so in the prisons, definitely the prisoners run it. And the jail, it depends on the wing. If it's medium security, then the officers run it. If it's maximum security, then the officers run the outside, but there is a gang hierarchy, politics, whatever the case is, on the inside. So on the outside of the bars, the officers are in charge, of course. On the inside of the bars, the inmates are in charge.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so if you get in there and you tick off the wrong person, yeah, I've seen many people who, when I left the day before, I looked at them and they looked like me, and then when I come back, their head is like 2 to 3 times the size. We call them pumpkin heads. You said something wrong to the wrong person, or somebody doesn't like something, whatever it was, and your head is a pumpkin head. It's like 2 to 3 times the size. You need to go to the dispensary, is what we call it, when you go see a medic. Yeah. So
what could the inmates do on the inside to a cop that is kind of being a jerk or making them upset? And we're talking about the people who actually run it, the higher ups in the prison.
Well, you wouldn't see the higher ups do anything. What they'll do is they'll tell a low, I guess, ranking person,
like a soldier type thing.
Like a soldier. I always call them prostitutes because it was no different than a prostitute. Yeah, if you don't move when they say move, if you don't jump when they say jump, if you don't go where they say go, you get violated.
Interesting.
Same thing as a prostitute. If they wanted to do something, they would have somebody else do it. So yeah, I've had water thrown on me before because someone didn't like what I said, or they didn't like the fact that everybody respected me, or whatever the case was. But I had so much respect in there because I came from the same hood that they came from. So I had so much respect in there that I didn't have to do anything to the guy. Normally the procedure would be to call for backup, go in there, remove that person from the inside of the day room, is what we called it, where all of the inmates are and they're watching TV or whatever, and then beat the crap out of them. But I had a promise from the Lord, because I'm very religious, and that that I did not have to fear for my life. So no matter what went on, I didn't have to worry about ever getting into a point where I had to either draw my gun from the outside or defend myself on the inside, or whatever the case was. So I had that. And so, but in addition to that, I also had a lot of respect from these guys. So if someone said the wrong thing, next thing you know, out of the blue, they'd be coming back and apologizing to me. And they wouldn't be apologizing out of the goodness of their heart. They're apologizing to stay safe. So the guy that threw water at me, he ended up, actually, I don't think I ever saw him again. I think I came back the next day and he was gone. So I don't know what happened to him.
Gone from the prison?
No, he was definitely still in the jail. He just was moved to somewhere else. So without a doubt, I believe that, maybe he got hurt, and maybe they put him somewhere for like some type of protective custody or something like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So can you kind of talk about what happens in prisons, or let's just say that Cook County jail, to somebody new who's never been there? What's the process? Let's say somebody is a maximum security guy. They get convicted of an attempted murder or something like that. They're like a...
You talking about in processing, when someone comes into processing, or you talking about as far as jail politics are concerned?
So both. So when they first come in, is there a process where you're like, okay, what gang are you in? You go over here. Are there people in prison that are like, or the Cook County jail that are like on them, like, yeah, we gonna get them, like stuff like that?
It depends on who they are. It depends on who they hurt on the outside.
Okay.
Many people lie and don't tell you what they're in there for, because everybody wants to know what you're in there for. If you're in there for raping a child, or any type of criminal sexual assault or criminal sexual abuse, unless you're on a wing meaning like a cell block that tolerates that, then chances are somebody's going to hit you. And when I mean hit, I don't mean like strike you. I mean hit you like two, three, four, five, maybe six, seven people are going to jump you. And they may stab you. They have these big yellow mop buckets. And so you get hit with one of those things. I mean, that's immediate concussion. You could get your neck broke with one of those things. They're so heavy and so solid. So but it depends. You get the wrong person, you go in there on the wrong wing with the wrong charge, you're done. And then you got aggressive personalities there. So you got people who always want to take from somebody. I'll never forget this one time where this guy, he kept trying to bully another person, and that person just wasn't a punk. He didn't want to get bullied. So and so he went in and took something out of his room, out of his cell, when the guy was out there watching TV, and when the guy found and saw him coming out of his cell, he was like, "What you come out of my cell? What you take from out of there?" And the guy was like, "I didn't take anything." And it was almost like a confrontation. And then they came back and they stabbed that guy, the one that they stole from. Now, so you're gonna steal from him, right? And because he's not a punk, you're gonna stab him. Yep. And they stabbed that guy. It went right. The shank went right into his tailbone, so he ended up being paralyzed for the rest of his life. So yeah.
So what happens when he gets paralyzed for the rest of his life? Does he still have to stay in prison, or do they just put him in a hospital?
No, nobody's gonna let you go home if you're waiting a trial for that sort of thing. He could have sued. I don't know what happened with that. And there were because it's such misconduct with the police, there were a lot of people in there that were innocent. There were people who I saw in there that I see at church, at my church, or I saw on the outside when I was working the business. When I left the sheriff department, I was in the financial service business, and there were people who came through my office. Yeah, we got this, $2 million, $2.8 million settlement because they put us in jail for the wrong reason, or they lied, or whatever it was. And, it ended up being 3 years or 4 or 5 years, which I called legal kidnapping, when they could take you, put a charge against you, not have a case against you. And the reason why you have those continuances that goes over a period of 2, 3, 4 years is because the state doesn't have a case against you. So they say, okay, we're going to give you a continuance to allow the state to form their case against you. That's kidnapping, man. They're holding you against your will. They're interfering with your life, that sort of thing. But to answer your question, when a person comes in, they go to a place that's called intake. And intake is where they do a screening. They find out if you have depression, if you have medications, if what type of gangs you're in. They do photos and things like that, tattoos. They look at and then they assign you from there to what type are you going to go to maximum security, medium security, based on your crime. And so, but they don't, well, they do, I guess, take note of what gang you're in, but the wing that you're assigned to is based on availability. And as you know, Cook County Jail was so overcrowded for many years. They're probably still overcrowded, but for places where it was meant to be 2 people to a cell, it was like 4 people. It was 2 people, and then it was 2 people laying on the floor, in one cell, and that cell was like, maybe a 9x6 type of space with 4 people in there. Yeah. So, yeah.